Good morning and welcome to a really beautiful day here in South Africa in the Sabi Sands. Now, as you saw earlier in the pre-drive, we've got the Nkuhuma Pride lions, so all 5 lionesses and 6 cubs, as well as 2 of the Birmingham boys. Now, I suppose I better introduce myself, seeing as though I didn't do that earlier. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me this morning, we've got Zander, a.k.a. Eggsy. No one really calls him by his real name here, but to be fair, no, you don't really get called by your real name when you work, when you work what I do. You always have all these wonderful nicknames. But there's a bit of hostility with the lions this morning. The girls are not very happy that the Birmingham boys are back. There's been a lot of growling, a lot of snarling, and it seems as though Nat.Geo and Nkuhuma have decided to show quite a bit of interest again in Amber Eyes, as well as the youngest lioness of the Nkuhuma Pride. So Mr. Nkuhuma, who is hiding behind this thorn tree, and he's very lucky that he's hiding there, because Amber Eyes and one of the other lionesses is not happy with him at all, and they keep growling at him. You can see they're sitting here. And Nat.Geo, and it looked like the youngest lioness, are actually a little bit further back down the road. And he is keeping her... Excuse me, sorry. Sorry, girl, I didn't mean to give you a fright. I just did the biggest sneeze and then I gave the lion a fright. There you can see Amber Eyes is the one that's doing all the snarling. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and actually move up a little bit further forward. Oh no, I've come undone. Right, let's shoot a little bit further forward, just so we can see if we can get a better view perhaps of Mr. Nkuhuma. Okay, no, he's tucked away quite nicely. Now, if you have just started watching us, it's really great to have you here this fine sunny day in South Africa. And this is a live interactive show, so if you'd like to chat to myself or Evia and Brent a little bit later when he decides to take his pajamas off, you can either do so by hashtagging Safari Live on Twitter, or if you don't have a Twitter account, you're welcome to send us an email to questions@WildEarthTV. And you can ask anything you like, anything about the lions that we're looking at or the elephants that Evia had, and we'd love to have a chat with you. Now, Amber Eyes has decided to follow on. She was contact calling to the rest of the pride. And I suspect that Nkuhuma is going to get up and follow them soon. But at the moment, he's got his head turned away from him. And I think he's trying to keep an eye out or perhaps spot Nat.Geo and the youngest lioness. But I think they're still a little bit further down. Good morning, Captain Awesome. What a wonderful name to have. Now, you're wondering if Nkuhuma has still got his chameleon jewelry on. We shall investigate his mane when he decides to move away from all the thorn trees. At the moment, I think he's licking his wounds because he did get a swat to the face. I watched him just while they were very quickly drinking water. And I think he's feeling a little bit sorry for himself. I'm going to go forward again just so we can get a better view of the entire pride. And we'll also have a little look at Nkuhuma's cut underneath his eye. So we'll have a look at that. But like I said, at the moment, it's very obscured, so we won't say anything just yet. We'll just have to wait until he comes out. But I don't think it'll be too much longer. I'm going to go around the pride so we can get a better view of the whole pride. And then we'll try and turn in over here. There we go. Ooh, Eggsy, look at this lioness here on the right. Is that amber eyes? No, that isn't. Let's just have a look here, because this lioness has got a big wound on her shoulder. Can you see that? Sorry, I'm swatting a fly that keeps getting underneath my hat. Oh, now that's a big gaping hole. But once again, something that you must remember with these animals is that they are prone to getting injuries. They are constantly going to be in fights, especially the females with the males fighting each other. And of course, every now and then, a cub, if it gets in the way, can also become injured. But a wound like this is just superficial. Even though it looks massive and there's clearly a hole and it looks like it could do with a stitch or two, they are so used to this type of thing, and they will heal much quicker than we as humans would heal, even if we were to put any antiseptic and all sorts of healing creams on a wound like that. They'll groom themselves, and that is good enough out in the bush to keep that wound clean. So I'm not sure what would have happened there. Maybe it's a bite mark. Now, Erlene, you were concerned about the cubs, but I've got good news for you. All 6 of them are here, and they are looking healthy. Even my favorite little floppy-eared girl, she's taking a moment out to groom herself. She's the one that's sort of sitting on her bum and doing yoga this morning. There she is. That is an interesting position for a lion, don't you think? Isn't that just so bizarre? And she's looking stronger and better as the day goes on. Now, we're definitely not going anywhere just yet, so we're going to hang around and see how this morning unfolds with the Nkuhumas versus the Birminghams. But I'm going to send you back across onto Avia's vehicle to have a look at the largest African mammal, which has been elusive over the last few days. Much grooming going on at the moment. And it's quite nice to see that the lionesses look like they're actually starting to settle down now. Like I said, when we first spotted them, the boys were sort of in a trot. They almost looked like they couldn't really walk. They were so fired up. And just in case you've just started watching, Mr. Tinyo is sitting with the youngest lioness, and Nkuhuma, who's hiding behind some thorn trees, was very, very interested again in amber eyes. But they're keeping their distance from the pride because, well, the girls keep growling and snarling back at the boys. And this is not the first time that we've seen this behavior. I don't blame the girls for acting that way. The boys have been gone for so long. And who knows what they've been up to. But it's good to see the little ones copying their mothers. Now, Vulpine Wolf Girl, you were wondering if I thought that their saliva perhaps had some antibacterial, antibiotic properties in it. I definitely think so, because with all the animals out there, well, that like the dogs and the cats that groom themselves in that way, they always lick open wounds, and we've seen it out here in the wild, and I'm sure you've seen it at home with your dogs, that if it's just a minor injury, sometimes you don't even bother by putting an antiseptic spray on, because the dogs just constantly lick it, and it heals quite well. So I definitely think that there's something in their saliva, or perhaps it's just the process of keeping it nice and clean that's doing it good and preventing any infection. The problem, though, with a wound like that lioness has on her shoulder is that it's in a bit of an awkward spot. You can see it's been weeping quite a bit. And I don't know if she's able to really reach onto her shoulder, though these cats are quite nimble, and they groom themselves in all sorts of places that I thought would never be possible. But they also perform allo grooming, so perhaps one of the other lionesses might even groom that for her and keep it clean. But it will close up. Now, speaking about this lioness, and of course her injury on her shoulder, Rachel, you were wondering at what point would we administer veterinary care to that lioness. Now, Rachel, we wouldn't. We wouldn't at all, because this wasn't caused because of human interference. This is most likely, I think it looks like a bite wound. I think either a lioness, two of the lionesses got into a bit of a tiz, or maybe it's from one of the Birmingham boys, because it doesn't look older. I can't remember seeing it yesterday morning. Maybe Evia spotted it in the afternoon. I'll have a chat with him and ask him. So we try to intervene as little as possible out here. Of course, we've come in and we have implemented roads and that type of thing, but that's where it sort of stops and starts. We view the animals from a distance. If they want to come to us, they come to us. We don't drive right on top of them. We give them space. But if somebody were to have come into the property, for instance, and try to poach a rhino, and maybe they shot the rhino, but the rhino didn't die and they didn't get the horn, we would then intervene, because that injury was caused by us as humans. Other than that, if this lioness picks up a severe infection and she does end up passing on, that's nature. That's just one of those things, and that's her genes not meant to survive in this world. Nature only allows for the fittest and the strongest to make it through, and that's why we have droughts or bouts of diseases and those types of things, is that it is to control populations. So this is normal, this is natural. We really don't want to have to try and fix every single animal, otherwise we'll have the weak genes continuing on, and that shouldn't be allowed out here in nature. You imagine if you let all the animals survive and you got to a point where you had a drought, the amount of death that would then be around would be absolutely horrendous, because those weaker genes would have been weeded out throughout the year prior to the build-up of the drought. So it's good that we just sort of observe and take note. It's like when we saw Nkuhuma, when he had the injury on his face, and it ended up being a type of myiasis, where a fly, maybe a screwworm fly, laid its egg inside there, or whether it was one of the botfly species that actually, where their pupa, not their pupa, their larvae, sorry, my mind is still asleep, actually feed on living flesh. We weren't sure exactly which type it was, but we watched it, and that was the most amazing thing to see out here in the wild, because most of the cases are always intervened by vets, or it's because it's with domesticated animals, and then we do intervene. And he healed fine. I mean, we were very worried about him. And look at him. He turned out to be wonderful, though he seems to be accident prone. I think if I was a lion, I'd probably be like Nkuhuma if I was a lion, seeing as though the two of us keep injuring ourselves all the time. Now, apparently, there is a video up on about myiasis, so you're welcome to go to the Safari Live page and have a look at that video, in case you're wondering what on earth I'm talking about. And, well, I'll let that video do all the talking. Looks like they're settling down, though. Some of the cubs still grooming. One lioness fast asleep. Now, Roger, you're also wondering if that injury on that lioness's shoulder could be because of a horn. It definitely could be. It could have been from that buffalo that they took down in Arathusa. I think it looks quite fresh, though. Or it could have been something along the way. Even something like an impala. You'd be surprised the damage an impala could do. So what's happening now is they're all getting up and moving. And I'm just trying to shuffle so I don't block your view. But they're now going to look for a nice shady spot, because where they're lying, that shade is going to disappear as soon as the sun pops up higher. But you'll see the cubs creeping around, because there's one lioness that's underneath a big guarri tree just to the left of us. And I think the cubs are going to come around to join her there. That would be a nice spot. But already you can see the sunlight creeping in. Or maybe she's going to lead them off somewhere else. We'll just have to sit and watch them. And isn't this incredible? We've got this entire sighting to ourselves. We actually spotted the lions as they walked past the camp. I just said to Evia, I said, I think I'm going to go and look for the lions, and I was planning to head back to where we saw them yesterday afternoon. And then there were reports that they were at the dam drinking or walking past the dam camp. And just as we were starting up, Eggsy shouts, lions, 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 lions. And I'm standing out the vehicle, dawdling, you know, brushing all the dust off of my pants and my shirt because I was wiping down the vehicle. And I thought that they were walking right next to us, but they were just in the distance. But they came right up to say good morning to us at the DRC. Where are you going? Right. They just settled down over there now. No, they're still going. Well, let's follow them. What do you think, Eggsy? Are you ready to follow? Are you ready to off-road? I'm sure you've missed it. Eggsy hasn't been out with us for such a long time. He told me how much he misses driving through the bushes with me. Especially when we get big moths and things like that jump out on the guarri bush. Okay, right. Well, we need to try and somehow get through here without damaging the vehicle too much. I'm only kidding. But I'm going to send you all the way across and see if those elephants are still hanging around Evya's vehicle. Evya, I think you meant to say Taylor has not broken the vehicle yet. Because, well, we know what happened the other day when I did the smallest amount of off-roading and I broke the brake fluid line. That was interesting. Driving around with no brakes for a while, but we managed. Now, my favorite little girl in the whole entire world has decided to come and get some tender love and care from her mother. Isn't that beautiful, that interaction? Now she's going, right, I'm hungry now. Thanks, Mum, for the groom. No, is that even your mother? Or are you just taking a chance, young lady? Right, so I'm just going to give an update on the radio very quickly. Good morning to Madoda and Gala, as well as the Nkuhuma Shlambi. We just off the shortcut that runs from Shortcut Gallagher to the Pan. It's just myself here. They're now mobile, though, in a westerly direction, back towards Aubrey's almost. But you should get my visual off Shortcut Gallagher, Shortcut Junction. Just let Taxon know, and Aubrey. Copy, no matata. Both of you can make your approach. Hello, little girl. Now, the reason why she's my favorite little cub is because she's from the teddy bear, the teddy bear. So she was one of the youngest, but unfortunately, two of her siblings didn't make it. And she is such a fighter because she's overcome mange. She had a really bad bout of mange and her ear flopped so badly it almost looked like it flopped in half. Actually, I don't know if she's the last one of the teddy bears. She does. She's definitely the smallest. And then, of course, the white muscle disease that came around from the buffalo not eating good quality grass. Well, it wasn't their fault. Unfortunately, there was just no grass around for them to feed on. And then that in turn affected the lions. And we lost 2 cubs from the white muscle disease. But now it seems as though the mange has got a little bit bad again. But she keeps grooming herself, and every time we see her, she does look a little bit better. This is what I think. And I try and take a photo of her every time I see her so that we can put it together and, of course, be able to make a bit of sense of it and see how much she is improving. But the girls are on the move again. So we're going to follow them too, but we'll let the other guides very quickly get into the sighting. But seeing as though we're sitting so close to Mfumo, let's have a look at his wound on his face. If you have a look there, you can see a little bit of a wound. Now, it feels like I haven't seen this lion in such a long time. Now, I'm hoping he's going to turn his head. I actually don't know. The last time I saw this male lion was probably about 3 weeks ago now, maybe 3.5 weeks ago. It's been that long, maybe even 4 weeks ago. So I can't even remember if his wound on his face completely healed from the myiasis injury, because that looks like what that is, the hole closest to his nose. But then he has got another gash underneath his eye. There we go, you see? Look. Oi. You watch your step. That's what Amber Eyes was saying towards him. Don't you get too close to me. I'm not interested in you. Now let's see if he's going to sulk. Oh no, he's probably going to try and test urine. No, no one urinated there. Sorry, my man. And off he goes in hot pursuit of Madam Amber Eyes. And of course, on the way through, why not scent mark? And it's good because they've been off the property for such a long time now that it's important that they re-walk the animal pathways. You can see how he's just rubbing his cheeks up against the leaves. He might urine spray. Yes, there he goes. Just to re-establish dominance in this area, because if there were any young male lions that would have come through here, there probably wouldn't have been a strong smell, a strong scent marking area from these male lions. We need to catch up with them now. And that's probably the most important thing for them to do at the moment. Right, we're going to very quickly shoot back across to Evia, who's done a sterling job of tracking down those elephants. Now, I'm going to poke my nose just through here. I'm going to park myself in some trees, as long as you all can see. Now, Roger, you were wondering if these lions are in the same spot that they were in yesterday. They're not too far. They are probably about a mile away, so relatively close. I think they just did a little circuit, came through the drainage line, went to the dam where the dam cam is, and then came back out again onto quarantine. Maybe they were looking for something to eat, because they don't look particularly full, especially the males. But look how nicely Tinyor's mane is coming along. It's getting nice and dark. I reckon in the next 6 months their manes are going to be almost black. Maybe not all of them, but definitely Tinyor's, and Mfumo's is also starting to go. But one thing that I have noticed, now bearing in mind that these male lions don't look like they've got anything in their stomach, is that Mfumo is definitely bigger in body size compared to Tinyor. He's much more muscular. He's got bigger shoulders, bigger hindquarters, and they've both got really impressive manes. And I've done this for the last few years. Every time I see lions, I think, oh, they're not so big. They're not really that wonderful. And then I always forget that they're so young. So when they're at about 5.5 years old, they're really scraggly looking things. Haven't quite got a well-established mane, still building up on their muscle tone. But I can't tell you the improvement that has happened since I've been here for the past 3 months. Just watching these Birmingham boys grow, they are really turning into lovely, strong lions. Now, I'm also not sure if these two are mating. There's been a lot of growling, but I haven't seen any mating going on just yet. But maybe we'll get lucky and we'll see something. Now, a very interesting question has just been posed by Ellen from Arkansas. And Ellen, you were wondering if there is a possibility that the Nkuhuma lionesses could smell maybe the sticks or even the torchwood lionesses on the Birmingham boys, and what would that do? Now, there's definitely a possibility. I don't know if these lionesses would be upset by something like that, as we know lions are not monogamous, and I don't think they really think like we as humans think. So I don't think it would be too much of an issue. I think it's just that the Nkuhumas do not like the Birmingham boys at all, and you can clearly see it, and I've told this story 167 times, I think, but it's my favorite story. Was when I first started working in the Sabi Sand, and the four-ways males were with the Southern Pride. I've never seen lionesses that were so infatuated with male lions. They loved them. If they called, the females would respond by roaring back, and there was always the most amazing greeting ceremony that went on. They loved everybody loved each other. That's just what it looked like. Everyone had a good relationship with each other. And then when the four-ways got chased away and the Charlestons came in, those lionesses behaved very much like the Nkuhuma lionesses behaved towards the Birminghams. Always growling, snarling, very little social interaction. However, we did see some nice interaction at one point, just before I went on leave, with Mfumo and the Pride, how he waited patiently and eventually edged closer and greeted every single lioness in the Pride, which was really nice to see. But he was also on his own. He wasn't with Mr. Tinyo. And every time Mr. Tinyo's around, there's always sort of slight aggravation that goes on with the entire Pride. And that's to be expected, though. This is what happens, is that these male lions will fight with each other, and there's always going to be tension as to who is the dominant male. And we know that Tinyo and Mfumo seem to be the two that hang around with the Pride the most. Occasionally, Nena, which we haven't seen for a very long time, pops through. But he keeps his distance. Now, something that I watched many years ago, and I can't remember who did the production, and this goes along with Michael's question that he's asked this morning. So I'll quickly just tell you what Michael's asked, and then I'll tell you about the documentary that I watched. So, Michael, you were saying that many scientists believe that the darker manes on lions are more attractive. You were saying, is this true? Because Tinyo's mane is clearly darker than Mfumo's, but Mfumo is the one that seems to do most of the mating with the lionesses. Now, something that you all need to remember is that these are still young males. Yes, they've established themselves in this area from quite a young age, but they also had strength and numbers on their side. So it was easy for them to come through and chase the old boys out. Now that they're getting older, we're going to really start to see their personalities develop and just their whole behavior change, and we're going to see who's the dominant one. And their manes are obviously getting bigger and bigger. You can see the mane is now creeping over their shoulders. Eventually, their hair will join on their sort of shoulder down towards their elbows. And sometimes the mane gets so big that it comes right underneath their stomach as well. And then, of course, it's going to go black. But not all lions have that dark mane genetics. So there's some areas, and I remember down in the Eastern Cape where we had Kalahari male lions. And they were brought in, obviously, from the Kalahari. And they're notorious for having dark manes. But there was one offspring that ended up having the blondest of blonde manes. And, well, he's doing very well. The lionesses have accepted him, and they love him just as much as the other ones that have got darker manes. Well, they seem to sort of show affection towards him. Now, the documentary that I watched was, they made these, I don't know if they were robotic, but I remember watching this when I was very young, and I was obviously starting to become very interested in wildlife. And they made these lions, and I think they put like a pheromone of a lion onto them so that they smelt, and they didn't smell sort of artificial. But one had a dark mane and the other had a blonde mane. And the prouder lionesses eventually came walking up to them and were a bit hesitant. And these lions weren't moving. They were completely still because they weren't real. And straight away, these lionesses moved towards the darker maned lion and sort of nudged heads with him. Eventually, they picked up that these things were not real. But that was just amazing, how they went straight to the male with the darker mane. So I think possibly when these male lions get a little bit older and they start to look a little bit more attractive, if I can use that word, towards these lionesses, perhaps their behavior will start to change. We'll just have to be able to wait and see what happens when these boys get nice and dark manes, and see if the female's relationship towards them sort of, well, becomes a little bit more friendly, a little bit more warmer. But we can continue this discussion. But before the little insect that Brent has flies away, let's go back across to him. Now, there's quite a bit of growling going on at the moment. Now, it was very, very interesting because two of the lionesses got up and went and sat at the feet of Mfumo. And that's, of course, when they started to show their teeth and a couple of growls were heard. They're very, very unhappy with him being here. And you can see that he's not acting defensively. Sorry, not defensively, aggressively. He's just trying to hide himself. But this is also very typical behavior of Mfumo. It's not the first time we've seen this, where he's been gone for quite some time and he comes back and he has to re-establish those bonds with the females. And it does take some time, and I think he understands that. I think lions are a lot more intelligent than the credit that we give them. And I think he knows, and I think that's why he just sat there and he let them snarl and growl, and when one swiped at him, he just acted defensively. He wasn't going to try and attack them, like what we've seen occasionally. And that's why I like Mfumo so much. I love his personality. And I really think that he's going to be an incredible lion. And he works really hard with his lionesses. He's got such a high tolerance for the cubs. He lets them jump on his back and bite his mane and pull his tail. And you'll see him just sitting there. So Kirsty just told me that you're all saying that and joking, and you said that the only reason why the lionesses are behaving like this is because they're hangry. I can tell you stories about being hangry. It is the worst feeling in the whole world, isn't it? And maybe that's it. And maybe that's why Mfumo's being so tolerant, because he doesn't want to ruin his chances of perhaps getting a free meal. Isn't it strange? From seeing the Nkuhumas constantly feeding almost every single day, if not twice a day, to actually seeing them looking on the lean side. But a couple of clouds have come over now, which is quite nice because it's holding off the harsh rays of the sun. And it's actually really, it's lovely and pleasant out here. There's a gentle breeze. Let's see now. Mfumo's up again, and I'm sure he'll follow, but he'll keep his distance. Off they go, one behind the other. Follow my leader. You'll just see Texan's just trying to give him a bit of space because they've come right up to his vehicle. I think he might actually want to leave the sighting, so we'll just let him carry on reversing and head out, and we're probably going to continue following these lions now that they're up. I'm just going to sit up now. Hello. Are you fumbling? Oh, okay. Right. Let's follow these lines and see where they go. Oh, so obviously with all that growling that happened, Tinyo is obviously quite curious. You can see him standing through the thicket with the youngest lioness, just keeping a close eye on the rest of the gang. And this younger lioness, she doesn't seem to be too bothered by Tinyo's presence. You can see him marking. She hasn't really growled at him. She doesn't seem unhappy with him sort of standing on her toes all the time. But let's follow the rest of the pride. I think it'll be nice if we get behind them. Let's go 4x4. Let's jump in front of them. Let's try and go around here. This is an easier gap, I think. Right. We are going to attempt to find an easy way through and keep following the lions. But let's go back across and take a little walk with Brent.
They are still quite far out from any of the boundaries, so we should still have them for the day. Brent, come in. Copy. No, they're heading west, still north of Veterinary access, away from the Ndlela they were on earlier. I think it's Galago shortcut or something. There's still a Madoda and a Mafazi further behind these ones on Galago access somewhere. Yeah, the male is following them. Doesn't want to get too far behind. It is that same male we saw the other day. I remember that's Nkuhuma or Mfumu. It's the one with a scar under his eye. Spectacular specimen. Walk right past the edge of the vehicle following these ladies. And it looks like he's got a new scar. He's got a second scar and he's right under the one we saw the other day. I didn't see that one the other day, so it must be a new one. I wonder if the ladies didn't give him a very warm welcome and handed out a few slaps. Tough life to be a male lion. Folks, while we try and stay with them, we're going to head over to Brent and see what he's got for you on bushwalk. Welcome back. We've managed to relocate them. They are definitely on a serious mission. They just keep moving. So every time we get to them, they keep moving off. And the male is following a couple, maybe 20 or 30 meters behind the last of the cubs. It's just, I don't know, are they moving away from the males? Are they just moving in general? So let's keep following and see how the story unfolds. The male is marking territory, spraying urine on that bush. No spray, just rubbing his face through the bush and then carrying on again. Let's have a quick look at this male before they go into this thicket again. Android, you would like to know why lions have manes. First of all, it's for sexual dimorphism, to show males and females apart and to tell them apart very easily. as they are social cats. Secondly, and very important, it is for males to have a bit of extra protection to the vital areas, to the throat and the neck area when they are in fights. So it's like almost a bit of body armor. Let's just check. I think we might get them again. The way the road loops around, we might get a visual of them on the other side. Try and avoid the risk of doing any harm, or as little as possible harm, to the bush and the environment and the vehicle that we're driving. Yeah, here is a much easier place to drive in, and they're coming right out at us. It's quite interesting the way they move. They're all kind of following each other in almost a single file. And from what I've seen, when they move like this, there's no intention of hunting. They really want to get to a certain spot. When they start hunting, they tend to fan out and start moving around prey species and stuff like that. Marsha in Oklahoma, you would like to know if the males follow the females when they hunt, or do they stay behind with the cubs? I think sometimes they join them in the hunt, and other times they will stay with the cubs and protect the cubs from any other danger or possible dangers that might come their way. So I think it depends. Every situation will be different on that specific day. The male is getting lazy with this walking. He's lying down. I think we're going to stick with the females for the moment. While we try and catch up with them, we're going to head over to Brent and see what he's up to. These lions are still moving. I can't believe it's heating up very quickly, and they're just on the move constantly, every now and then looking back in the direction that they came from. And my guess, I think I can conclude now, is that they don't want this male in their presence. He's going to keep following. He doesn't want to know anything about not being accepted by the females, or not wanting them around. I'm quite interested to hear what Brent is going to get up to. He was saying something about something that I would never want to eat. So it's going to be very interesting to see what this challenge is all about. I think we must just quickly shoot past here. Jose in Virginia, you would like to know what is my feeling of being next to a lion like this. With time spent out in the bush, you do start getting used to it. But it takes a while. You still get butterflies every now and then because of the respect that you have for these animals and knowing what they are capable of, having seen them take down animals and seen them feeding. It's always a scary thought to know what they could possibly do to you. But luckily in the vehicle they tend to just ignore you and carry on with their daily routine. We are not that far from the Arathusa boundary at the moment. Let's see if this guy wants to spray a bit of urine. Chup, chup. Quick spray. And he's ready to go. Oh, these females have turned around. It looks like they might have spotted something. They just changed their direction completely now. Maybe it looks like a thicker area. Maybe they're looking for shade to sleep in. We'll just see, let this male move off a little bit and then go investigate a bit further there. Yeah, he's given us enough space to be able to move. Don't see anything that could have caught their attention yet. We'll see what they do and where they move. Maybe we'll follow them into the bush. Maybe we'll see something jump up and run away, or we'll see their body language change into going to stalking mode. Excuse me. Some of the cubs are all starting to lie down. Let's just shoot in here. It looks like there might be a little mud wallow or something that they might be drinking from. Let's just get through this little section here. Yeah, there's a tiny bit of water. These lionesses are walking straight into where we want to drive. They're going to come out in front of us behind this bush. Looking on the ground, it looks like a buffalo footprint. Just one or two tracks in the area, and it looks like it's relatively recent, but they've gone flat now. They're lying down. So maybe they've eventually decided it's sleeping time. Folks, let's go and find out what surprise Brent has got for us. We'll see you shortly. These lions have decided to eventually settle down for the morning. The heat's getting to them, starting to get lazy. So we're going to enjoy the last bit of the sunrise safari with the lions. And hopefully this afternoon we'll be able to pick up on them again. All these youngsters, or the youngster that we are looking at now, is looking straight at the male that's sleeping in the shade a bit further back. Some of the lionesses are also having a good look at him, kind of giving that scary eye. Stay where you are, don't come any closer. So we'll have to see how the story unfolds further as the day continues. Hello, Mum. There's one of these cubs that's lying down in a very tiny mud wallow. So I would love to see if he gets up, if he's full of mud or if he's just on the side of the mud. Folks, it's almost time for the end. I would like to thank VM for all the assistance and help on the camera this morning. Thank you to all the other guys out there, Brent on walk, Taylor on the vehicle and the lions, ladies in the FC, and thank you to all the viewers. It's been a lovely morning full of exciting things. All the big creatures, the biggest cat of Africa, biggest land mammal and the tallest in one drive. Have a lovely day and we will see you a bit later.